Hey, so this is Malcolm again. I'm just going to share a essay that I wrote. It's called Writing the Medium of Imagery and Reason. I wrote it for my English class this second semester of college here on campus. So during the course of the first 2 weeks in this college writing level course, though my view of writing has not been challenged or reformed, occasional new ideas have been introduced. My expressible view of the nature of writing has become, by reason of reflection, more concrete. In this exposition, I intend to address the nature of writing, defining what it is, summarizing the virtues of the art, and touching briefly on what makes a good writer. In response to the question, to what purpose or in what manner ought the virtues of writing be applied? Firstly, to address the nature of writing, I posit that writing, considered with respect to communication, is the most effective medium for both clear, detailed imagery and complex reasoning. Writing is the commission of the spoken language to paper. It is dumb in that writing itself cannot respond to additional questions the reader may have once they have finished reading. Writing can only answer the questions for which it was formed. For example, a political commentary on the immorality of taxation might put forward claims which reference standards of ethics such as biblical commandments 8 and 10, perhaps apprehending fallacies in the opposing argument, but no writer could address all the opposing arguments, some of which would not even exist until the readers had read the commentary. Therefore, the responsive purpose of the text, while thoroughly fulfilled with respect to the initial context, is limited to addressing the views of either the distant or proximate past. Written conversation, if extant and thorough, is therefore substantially delayed. Writing requires more thought, forming phrases in a manner which will maximize the effectiveness of the communication, with respect to both brevity and depth of information. It requires more time, both to commit words to paper and to complete the mental hurdles attendant to the form. For example, in explaining a complex topic of research, one can make generalizations that will bring an informed reader up to speed immediately while citing sources that explain the topic in greater depth. Thus, it is brief, getting directly to the formative point of the essay and referencing a complex system of information efficiently. Secondly, writing lends itself to complexity of theoretical reasoning and description. This is assisted by several aspects, including the accessibility of the information with respect to time. In other words, rather than being required to comprehend the main concepts immediately, as during a speech, one can slow down, speed up, and reread according to their comprehensive needs. More time is available to the author for reflection on descriptive imagery, syntax, word choice, and general rhetorical device. This maximizes the possible quality of the writing with respect to the author's ability. To put it more simply, writing allows the author to revise the language they are using to maximum effect. Thirdly, attendant to the support of brevity, writing assists in the creation and use of wit. Besides the increased opportunities for creativity in the comparatively stress-free and reflective time, there exists a number of puns, for example, which have direct reference to the spelling of words. These create phrases using words which are indistinguishable from one another in the spoken language. Note, for example, the pun, I'm looking to acquire for assistance. So I'm looking to acquire for assistance. Use of such wit in the spoken language would be very difficult without the descriptive use of one's hands or slight modifications to each phrase. Even then, it does not have the same effect as it does when it's written. Writing supportive brevity is due to the same characteristics that create a foundation for complexity of reason, more especially the opportunity to refer to previous statements for clarification of context and reflectively summarize with increasing conciseness. Fourthly, writing interacts with emotions in a different manner than speech. The increased capacity for succinct explanation and detailed descriptions help to create panoramic imagery. The attendant experience has, therefore, potential to be far more immersive. Assuming the reader has an attention span sufficient to the task, they will much better experience with Jean Valjean the arduous journey through the sewers, having been on a 40-page journey of their own, through the same sewers, both geographically and through time. Lastly, Having addressed the increased capacity for vicarious experience, it is worthy of note that writing is unable to exert control over emotions by proximity of provocation. In other words, the reader of a colorful excerpt in which the author cares not to mask their disdain and anger is much less likely to feel threatened by that exposition than they might standing face to face with the person in question. The potential for immediate threat is mitigated by both the physical distance and the distance of their relationship. In summation, one can then argue that writing gives both the writer and reader more control over the effect of the rhetoric, both emotionally and for the writer intellectually. This is, in my view, the principal virtue of writing when considered as a medium of communication. Main views, then, the main views can be summarized as increased ability of the author to communicate complex ideas, describing detailed nuances in the application and characteristics of simple ideas. Increased ability of the author to describe situations in detail, creating a picture of the reference experience in the reader's mind. Increased ability of the author to incorporate brevity, wit, and various other rhetorical devices, including those which may lack brevity, which could not be utilized as effectively without the form and preparation intrinsic to writing. Increased comprehensive control of the reader, increased control of the author over rhetorical effect, and as the principal virtue, increased control of both the author and reader over the emotional effect which they will allow the subject to exercise over them. Finally, the virtues of writing are moot if they cannot be put to good use in communicating an original and authentic concept or image. This means that as a matter intrinsic to the nature of good writing, aka in order to properly meet the communicative end to which writing was created, a discourse must address a subject of interest in an interesting manner. Because the functional majorities of readers are more interested in truth and authenticity than they are in hearing that they are right, which becomes among good readers a secondary desire. A good writer is predominantly defined by their honesty. They fear not to communicate clearly and honestly the nature and nuance of their opinions. They define their position comprehensively without skirting or ignoring attendant issues. The ideal which supports an unambiguous, concise, straightforward, and generally authentic form of communication is, in my belief, the principal end to which writing was created. Thus, through writing, one can, with unparalleled government of uh, rhetoric and emotion, most effectively communicate to honest reason, detailed imagery, and wit, companion to its soul. And that concludes the essay. So, yeah, I'm justly proud of that. I do not think it is. I do write, obviously, in a somewhat complex vocabulary, and it's kind of a pastime and kind of habit. But I also do believe that like I can fit more information in as I use that more complex vocabulary. So but the concepts and the analyzation of writing in general, the content of that essay, I think was quite well rounded in comparison to many other essays I've written. So yeah, hope you liked it.